Some things are true, some things are false, but it seems that sometimes there's just no fact of the matter whether it's true or false. How can we make sense of that in logic? Let's find out. Hello everyone, welcome back to a very cold attic. I'm wrapping up nice and warm. I hope you are warm too. We have been talking about non-classical logics, three-valued logics, cases in which things can be neither true nor false, or maybe both true and false. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about philosophical uses of these three-valued logics, and in particular, cases where we might say there's just no fact of the matter either way. So if you're finding these videos interesting, if you're finding it useful, why not subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get updates. I'm going to be thinking about what philosophers might mean when they say there's no fact of the matter. Okay, so you often hear philosophers saying this, maybe they're talking about moral issues, how should we act in this or that case, and someone says, well, there's just no fact of the matter. And I'm thinking particularly about cases where they don't just mean we're not sure what to do, we don't know what the answer is. So it's not just an epistemic thing, we don't know what the right answer is. I'm talking about cases where there just really is no fact of the matter, there is no right or wrong answer. So I'm going to be thinking about two kinds of case where plausibly we could say, well, in those areas there's just no fact of the matter sometimes. First one I'm going to think about is the open future, okay? So this is a philosophical idea that says the future is metaphysically open. It hasn't happened yet. Facts about the future haven't yet been fixed. So it's not just that we don't know what's happening in the future. I mean, obviously, we don't know everything that's going to happen in the future. No one argues with that. The philosophical claim with the open future is facts about the future haven't all been fixed yet. Maybe some of them have, but not all of them. So that there are some statements about the future which haven't yet got a truth value fixed, okay? It's open what the truth value of that claim is. There's no fact of the matter. So examples like everyone's going to pass the logic test or it's going to snow on Christmas Day, we don't yet know what the truth values of those statements is going to be, okay? If the future really is open, metaphysically open, then it might be that those statements just don't have truth values yet. They will do when those things either happen or don't happen, but right now they don't have a fixed truth value. There might be no fact of the matter. Okay, now if that's the case, then it seems like you're going to want a logic that takes into account the fact that some sentences might not be true or false, like sentences about the open future, sentences like everyone's going to pass the logic test or it's going to snow this Christmas Day. Those sentences, you can't now assign them a T or an F, you're going to have to assign them a different value. Like this O value, this other that we've been talking about, we could take that to mean that there is no fact of the matter. These sentences don't have a definite truth value, true or false. So if you're taking that route, it's quite natural to reason about these sentences using a three-valued logic. A three-valued logic with a value O for other, thought of as meaning neither true nor false, no fixed fact of the matter. In some sense, undetermined. Another kind of philosophical case in which it's very natural to say that there's no fact of the matter is cases of vagueness. Think about an example like the cloud flying overhead right now. There's bits of clear sky where there's definitely no cloud. Right in the middle of the cloud, that's definitely a bit of cloud, but there's this kind of fuzziness around the outside, this bit of vagueness. So if we sort of said, where does the cloud begin and end? It looks like there's no fact of the matter. And if we were kind of up there and we were pointing at bits of sky saying, is that a bit of cloud? Is that a bit of cloud? There will be some bits where we could say, yep, definitely that's a bit of cloud. Some bits where we would say, nope, that's definitely not cloud. But there would be bits where we just couldn't give an answer. It would be indeterminate. Now, there's lots of different philosophical views of vagueness. Again, according to some people like Tim Williamson, it's just an epistemic matter. It's just that we don't know where the cloud begins and where it ends. For other people, it's just a semantic matter. It's like the word cloud has never been made precise enough to tell us exactly where the cloud starts and finishes. But for other people, there is genuinely vagueness in the world. There is genuinely ontic metaphysical vagueness, like the cloud is this fuzzy object that doesn't have precise boundaries. But we're not going to get into those issues here. On either the semantic or the ontic worldly interpretation of vagueness, it might make sense to say there is no fact of the matter exactly where the cloud begins and ends. So we might want to allow that due to vagueness, due to indeterminacy, there are statements which are neither true nor false. There is no fact of the matter because it's just vague. So if I point to somebody who is borderline tall and I say that's a tall person, well, there might be no fact of the matter whether my statement is true or false. If we're standing underneath the edge of the cloud and I say we're under a cloud right now, again, there might be no fact of the matter whether we are or aren't under the cloud. If we're looking at color samples and we're imagining them going from like bright red through to orange and yellow, and I kind of point to one in the middle and say that's red, well, again, there might be no fact of the matter whether that's true or false. So vagueness, whether we think of vagueness as primarily being in language, semantic, or being in the world, we can say that there might be cases where there's no fact of the matter. And we might want to make sense of that philosophically, logically, by adopting a three-valued logic. Again, where we're thinking of that third value as saying neither true nor false, no fact of the matter. Okay, so there we've got two philosophical applications of three-valued logics, particularly three-valued logics where we think of the third value as saying neither true nor false, no fact of the matter. Now, because they're philosophical applications, there are philosophical problems involved. What kind of problems? Well, think back to the open future. So we don't know whether it's going to snow on Christmas Day or not. So suppose we say there's no fact of the matter. Nevertheless, I'm pretty sure that it's either going to snow or not snow on Christmas Day. I'm 100% sure of that prediction because it's a logical prediction. I'm saying either snow or not snow, A or not A. In fact, in every case about the future, I would put my money on A or not A turning out. But in the three-valued logics we've looked at, K3 and the Łukasiewicz three-valued logic, they don't have the law of excluded middle. They don't have A or not A as a valid sentence. They seem to be saying that there's no fact of the matter about A or not A. And that doesn't seem right to me. So I might not know about snowing in the future. I might not know about not snowing in the future, but I'm pretty certain on it either will or won't snow on any particular day. Similarly, I don't know whether everyone will or won't pass the logic test, but I'm pretty sure that either everyone will pass or somebody won't pass. I really hope it's that everyone does pass. But I'm confident in the law of excluded middle. It doesn't seem to be the kind of thing where there's no fact of the matter. Logic seems to guarantee it. But if that's right, then these three-valued logics, Strong-Kleene logic, Łukasiewicz logic, don't seem to be the right kind of logic for dealing with the open future. Similarly, in the case of vagueness, I might not be able to say whether this person is tall because they're a borderline case, but I'm pretty certain that either they're tall or they're not tall. Okay, or this colour patch here, I don't know whether it's red or whether it's more kind of like orangey kind of colour, but either it is or it isn't red. Maybe in these cases we're not quite so sure about the law of excluded middle. According to some people, these are cases where the law of excluded middle might be something you can give up. So if you think law of excluded middle is something you can give up for the case of vagueness, maybe it's not the case that the colour patch is either red or not red, maybe it's the case that this person isn't either tall or not tall. In that case, you might say that these three-valued logics, Strong-Kleene logic, Łukasiewicz logic, they're fine for dealing with vagueness. But a lot of philosophers think that even in the case of vagueness, you're going to want the law of excluded middle. Either it's red or it's not red. Either you're tall or you're not tall. Even if you can't say which. Even if there's no fact of the matter which. So if these really are cases where we want to say there's no fact of the matter, but we do want the law of excluded middle to hold, that is, we want the disjunction to hold, even though there's no fact of the matter which disjunct holds, then we're going to need a different approach to our logic. Because the three-valued logics we've been looking at are truth, functional. We use truth matrices to work out the values of disjunctions, negations, conjunctions, given the truth values of the bits that make them up. So if we know the truth values of the bits that make them up, the disjuncts, we know the truth values of the conjunctions and the disjunctions and the negations, right? But a consequence of that is if we're going to say that excluded middle is valid and that it holds in every single case, then we're going to have to be able to say for each case which disjunct holds. Either the first disjunct, A, holds, or the second disjunct holds. So we're not going to allow any room for no fact of the matter. But it seems what we want here is to allow for no fact of the matter, even though law of excluded middle is valid. So on that approach, we're going to have a non-truth functional logic, a logic that allows a disjunction to be true, even though neither of its disjuncts are true. A or not A is always going to be true, but sometimes A won't be true and sometimes not A won't be true. So if we're going to make sense of that kind of approach, we're going to have to go beyond truth functional logic. We're going to need to look at intentional logics, and that gets a bit tricky. That's going to be a story for another day. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful. If you want to hear more of this content, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon. If you've got any questions on this stuff, and I bet you have because this is really super interesting philosophically and logically, leave me a comment below. I'll try and get your questions answered. Thank you very much for all your support. It's been great having you on board. I will see you guys next time.